What if I told you that the difference between the life you have now and the life you dream of is not luck, not talent, not even motivation, but discipline? Discipline is the silent force behind every great achievement. It's what separates those who wish from those who win. It's what turns ordinary people into extraordinary leaders, athletes, writers, and innovators. But here's the truth. Nobody wakes up naturally disciplined. Every person you admire, whether a world leader, a groundbreaking inventor, or a best-selling author, at some point had to force themselves into discipline until it became second nature. This audiobook is not about quick hacks or shallow motivation. It's about rewiring your mind, reshaping your habits, and building a life where discipline is not a struggle but a lifestyle. So, if you've ever felt stuck in cycles of procrastination, if you've ever promised yourself change but slipped back into old patterns, stay with me. Because what you're about to hear will give you the tools, the mindset, and the inspiration to master yourself, and in doing so, master your future. Let's begin. Before we dive in, we've noticed that most people who listen to our audiobooks do not subscribe to our channel. So do me and yourself a favor. Like this video, share it with someone who's ready to grow, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the valuable insights that will help you stay unstoppable. Chapter 1: The Truth About Discipline. Imagine waking up every morning full of energy and determination. You say to yourself, "Today is the day I'll finally stick to my plan." But by midday, you're scrolling endlessly on your phone, postponing your tasks, or reaching for that easy shortcut instead of the real work. Sound familiar? If yes, then you've already discovered the hidden truth. Discipline is not as simple as it sounds. In this chapter, we're going to break apart the myths and lies that people tell themselves about discipline. We'll explore what discipline really is versus what people think it is, why motivation alone fails, and the big myth of so-called natural self-control. By the end, you'll see that discipline isn't something reserved for the lucky few. It's a skill, a muscle, something you can build no matter who you are or where you come from. What discipline really is versus what people think it is. Let's start here. Most people think discipline means waking up at 5 a.m., running 10 miles, eating plain vegetables all day, and working nonstop until midnight. They imagine discipline as a life of constant struggle and punishment. In other words, they think discipline equals misery. But the truth is very different. Discipline is not about suffering, it's about alignment. It's the ability to keep your actions consistent with your goals, even when you don't feel like it. Think of discipline as a bridge. On one side, you have your dreams. Maybe it's building a business, writing a book, getting fit, or becoming financially free. On the other side, you have reality, your current habits, distractions, and comfort zones. Discipline is the bridge that takes you across. Without it, your dreams remain on the far side, unreachable. One of the most disciplined leaders in history once said, "We are what we repeatedly do." Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. That's from Aristotle, and it still holds true today. Discipline is simply the consistent practice of the right habits over time. Why motivation alone fails. Now let's talk about motivation. Most people confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation is that spark of energy you feel when you watch an inspiring video, hear a powerful speech, or imagine yourself living your dream life. Motivation feels good. It's emotional fuel. But here's the problem. Motivation is temporary. It fades. It comes and goes like the wind. Have you ever felt fired up after watching a motivational clip, only to go back to your old habits 2 days later? That's because motivation is not strong enough to carry you through the grind of life. Let's look at an example. Think about Thomas Edison, the man who invented the electric light bulb. Do you think he was motivated every single day after failing thousands of times? Probably not. But he was disciplined. He kept experimenting, kept trying, kept working despite the failures. And that's what led to success, not short bursts of motivation, but long-term discipline. Or consider Mahatma Gandhi. His lifelong fight for justice wasn't powered by random sparks of motivation. It was powered by daily discipline. waking up to the same mission, sticking to his principles, and continuing the struggle no matter how many setbacks came his way. The truth is simple. Motivation can start the fire, but only discipline keeps it burning. The myth of natural self-control. Now let's tackle another dangerous myth. The belief that some people are just born with more discipline than others. That there are naturally disciplined people who can wake up early, stay consistent, and resist every temptation with ease. This is simply not true. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you train. Just like a muscle, the more you practice it, the stronger it becomes. Take a world leader like Winston Churchill. People remember him as a strong, disciplined wartime leader. But what many don't know is that in his younger years, he struggled with procrastination, unhealthy habits, and even deep bouts of doubt. His discipline was not natural, it was built. Through years of responsibility, pressure, and practice, he forged the self-control that history now remembers. Or look at athletes. No one is born disciplined enough to train for years, endure pain, and stick to strict diets. They become disciplined by showing up every day, by forcing themselves to push past comfort. What looks like natural discipline from the outside is simply practiced discipline on the inside. In his book Atomic Habits, James Clear explains this clearly. He writes, "You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems." That means discipline is not about natural talent. It's about creating systems that force you to stay consistent, making discipline practical. So what do we do with all this knowledge? First, we stop waiting for motivation. We stop waiting to feel ready. Instead, we build systems and habits that carry us forward even when we don't feel like it. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation to do it. You just do it because it's part of your daily habit. That's what discipline is supposed to feel like in every important area of your life. Automatic, structured, and non-negotiable. Second, we recognize that setbacks don't mean we're not disciplined. They simply mean we're training the muscle. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you're making that muscle stronger. And third, we remind ourselves daily that discipline is freedom. It doesn't lock you up. It unlocks the life you actually want to live. Key takeaways for you. Discipline is not punishment. It's alignment between your actions and your goals. Motivation is useful, but it's temporary. Discipline is what sustains you long-term. No one is born with natural discipline. It's a skill, a muscle you can build. Systems and habits are stronger than willpower. Build routines that make discipline automatic. Discipline is not about misery. It's about freedom, growth, and reaching the life you truly desire. So, the truth about discipline is this. It's not about being lucky, gifted, or naturally strong-willed. It's about making a choice day after day to do the hard things that shape the person you want to become. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are voting for your future self. Remember, your dreams are not waiting for motivation. They are waiting for discipline. If you found value in this chapter, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder about discipline, and subscribe to this channel for more powerful insights. By subscribing, you're not just supporting the channel, you're supporting your own growth journey. Stay disciplined, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next chapter. Chapter 2, The Psychology of Discipline. If you've ever wondered why you start a new habit with energy and passion, but find yourself slipping back into old patterns after a few days or weeks, you're not alone. The secret lies not in willpower alone, but in understanding how your brain, your environment, and even your biology influence your daily decisions. Discipline is not magic, it's science. Let's dive into how the brain forms habits, the role of dopamine and willpower, and why your environment often wins over your intentions. How the brain forms habits. Imagine your brain as a vast network of highways. Every time you repeat an action, you strengthen a particular road, making it smoother and easier to travel. This is how habits are formed, through repetition. Neuroscientists call this process neuroplasticity. For example, think about brushing your teeth. At one point, you had to be reminded as a child. But now it feels automatic. That's because the brain has encoded the action so deeply that it takes little conscious effort. The same applies to both productive and destructive habits. The more you repeat scrolling endlessly on your phone, the easier it becomes to do it without thinking. But the same principle works for positive habits, reading daily, exercising, or meditating. Here's the key truth. Discipline becomes easier when you stop relying on brute force and instead allow the brain's habit system to carry the weight for you. In the book Atomic Habits by James Clear, the author explains, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." What this means is, it's not about one big burst of energy. It's about creating systems that make good habits stick and bad ones hard to repeat. The role of dopamine and willpower. Now, let's talk about dopamine, the brain's reward chemical. Many people think dopamine is about pleasure. But in truth, it's more about anticipation. It motivates you to act, to chase, to seek. When you set a goal, say, to wake up early to work out, dopamine gives you that initial push. But here's the challenge. The brain is wired to seek quick wins. That's why reaching for your phone feels more rewarding than doing 20 push-ups. The dopamine spike from notifications is immediate, while the reward of exercising is delayed. This is why discipline often feels like a battle between the now brain and the later brain. The now brain says, sleep in, eat the cake, binge the series. The later brain whispers, think of your health, your future, your bigger goals. World leaders throughout history have faced this exact challenge. Take Abraham Lincoln, for example. He was not born into wealth or power. His discipline to study law while working long, laborious jobs came from choosing the later brain. He resisted the instant gratification of rest, pushing through discomfort to secure a bigger future. That is the psychology of delayed reward at work. Willpower is like a muscle. It can be strengthened, but it also gets tired. If you rely solely on willpower, you'll eventually give in. The trick is to use dopamine to your advantage. Break big tasks into smaller, achievable actions so your brain gets those rewarding little hits along the way. This is why checking off small wins feels so satisfying. It fuels momentum. Why your environment often wins over your intentions. Now let's get brutally honest. No matter how strong your willpower, your environment has the final say most of the time. Think about it. If you're trying to eat healthy but your kitchen is filled with cookies, chips, and soda, you are setting yourself up to fail. The truth is, environment shapes behavior more than motivation does. This is why soldiers and disciplined armies can maintain structure. It's not just inner strength, it's also the external system enforcing discipline. Take Mahatma Gandhi as an example. His discipline in pursuing nonviolence was not simply about inner conviction. He deliberately structured his environment to reinforce simplicity, living with minimal possessions, following routines that reflected his values, and surrounding himself with people who held him accountable. His environment became a mirror of his discipline. You can do the same. If you want to read more, place books in visible places instead of hiding them on a shelf. If you want to work out, lay out your gym clothes the night before. If you want to reduce screen time, set app limits or keep your phone in another room. Remember this rule: environment beats intention. You may have the strongest plan in your head, but if your environment doesn't support it, you'll fall into old patterns. Think of your brain as clay. It can be molded. Habits are the fingerprints of repeated actions. Dopamine is the sculptor, carving pathways of anticipation and reward. And your environment is the workshop, deciding what tools are within reach. Ask yourself, what habit loop is currently running in my life? How can I use small wins to fuel momentum instead of waiting for big rewards? Is my environment silently sabotaging me, or is it working for me? Remember, discipline isn't about being superhuman. It's about being strategic. Key takeaways for you. Habits are brain highways. Repetition makes actions automatic, for better or worse. Dopamine fuels behavior. Use small wins to keep your motivation alive. Willpower is limited. Don't rely on it alone. Design your life to make discipline easier. Environment shapes destiny. Set up your surroundings to encourage the behavior you want. Discipline is not about punishing yourself. It's about understanding your psychology and working with your brain, not against it. The more you align your habits, dopamine triggers, and environment, the more natural discipline becomes. And if there's one lesson from history's most disciplined leaders, it's this. They built systems around them that supported their goals, so their discipline became a lifestyle, not a one-time effort. Before we close this chapter, here's something for you. Don't just listen, apply. Choose one habit you want to build, one small reward you can attach to it, and one environmental change you can make today. Test it for 1 week, and watch how your discipline begins to strengthen. If this chapter has inspired you, don't forget to like this audiobook, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss the next step on your journey to self-mastery. Because the truth is simple, discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you build. Chapter 3. Why you can't rely on motivation. If you've ever waited for motivation to hit you before starting something important, you already know the truth. It almost never lasts. Motivation feels powerful when it's there, but it fades quickly, like a spark that burns bright and disappears. Think about the times you felt a rush of energy after watching an inspiring video, hearing a speech, or reading a powerful story. In that moment, you believed you could conquer the world. But the next day, or even a few hours later, you found yourself back at square one. Why does that happen? Because motivation is an emotion. And like every emotion, it comes and goes. Discipline, on the other hand, is a choice. It's the bridge between what you want and what you actually achieve. Motivation versus discipline. Let's break it down. Motivation is the feeling that pushes you to start. Discipline is the system that ensures you finish. Motivation says, I feel like doing this. Discipline says, I will do this whether I feel like it or not. Take the story of Thomas Edison, the inventor who gave us the electric light bulb. Edison is often quoted as saying, genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. That's the perfect example of the difference. The 1% is motivation, the spark. But the 99% is discipline. Showing up, trying again, and refusing to quit even after thousands of failed attempts. Why motivation is temporary. Motivation is like sugar. It gives you a quick boost of energy, but it doesn't sustain you. You can't live on sugar alone, just like you can't live on motivation alone. Psychologists have studied this. In the book The Willpower Instinct by Kelly McGonigal, she explains how our brains are wired to chase short-term rewards. Motivation works well when the reward is immediate. For example, if you're hungry, you're motivated to eat. But when the reward is far away, like working hard for years to build a business, earn a degree, or master a skill, motivation loses its power. That's when discipline has to step in. History gives us plenty of examples. Think about Mahatma Gandhi. He didn't rely on bursts of motivation to lead a movement. Motivation would have never carried him through years of struggle, prison, and opposition. What carried him was discipline, the daily commitment to his cause, no matter how he felt, no matter how heavy the burden. Motivation starts the fire, but discipline keeps the flame alive. How to shift from inspiration to action. So, if motivation can't be trusted, how do we move from being inspired to actually doing the work? The secret lies in 3 steps. Decide, design, and do. Decide. Decide that you will commit, whether you feel like it or not. A famous world leader once said, we must all suffer one of 2 things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The choice is always yours. When you decide, you're telling your brain, this is who I am now. Design. Build systems that make discipline easier than laziness. For example, if you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your clothes the night before. If you want to read more, keep a book on your desk instead of your phone. One American author, James Clear, wrote in Atomic Habits that you do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That means you don't depend on willpower. You design your environment for success. Do. The final step is simple. Take action, no matter how small. Don't wait until you feel like it. World leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, and artists all have one thing in common. They act, even when they don't feel motivated. That's why they succeed. The action creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Let's make this real. Imagine a student who wants to become a doctor. At first, they're motivated. They picture themselves saving lives, wearing the white coat, and making their family proud. But soon the reality sets in. Years of studying, long nights, endless exams. Motivation starts to fade. The only thing that carries them through is discipline. Showing up to class, studying daily, and refusing to quit when it gets hard. It's the same with anyone who's achieved greatness. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't rely on motivation to lead marches and deliver speeches that changed history. He relied on discipline, preparing tirelessly, showing up consistently, and holding to his vision even in the darkest times. Key takeaways for you. Let me pause and speak directly to you, the listener. Here are the lessons you must carry with you. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the firewood. You need both, but only one lasts. Your emotions can't be trusted. Don't wait until you feel ready. You'll never feel ready. Start anyway. Systems beat feelings. If you design your environment and routines correctly, you don't have to force yourself every day. The system forces you. Every great achievement was built on discipline. Whether it's inventors, leaders, or everyday people reaching their goals, it wasn't motivation that carried them. It was consistency. Here's what I want you to try after listening. Pick one task you've been delaying because you were waiting to feel motivated. Maybe it's starting a workout, writing that first page of a book, applying for a new job, or even cleaning your room. Do it today. Don't wait for inspiration. Just start. Even 5 minutes is enough. You'll realize that action creates motivation, not the other way around. Discipline will always outlast motivation. The world remembers those who built habits, who stayed consistent, and who showed up no matter what. So the next time you're tempted to wait for that magical spark, remind yourself. Sparks fade, but discipline builds the fire that warms your entire life. If this chapter gave you value, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs discipline in their life, and subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter in this audiobook. Together, let's build a life where discipline, not fleeting motivation, carries us to our dreams. Chapter 4. The Power of Identity-Based Discipline. Have you ever noticed how some people seem naturally disciplined? They wake up early, exercise consistently, keep their promises, and stick to their goals almost effortlessly. Meanwhile, others struggle, starting and stopping, always relying on bursts of motivation that never last. The difference isn't always willpower. It's identity. See, discipline becomes sustainable when it is no longer something you do temporarily, but something that is a natural extension of who you believe yourself to be. In other words, your actions align with your identity. You don't just try to act disciplined, you become a disciplined person. Let's make this simple. Imagine two people who are trying to quit smoking. The first one says, "I'm trying to stop smoking." The second one says, "I'm not a smoker." The first person still identifies with the habit. They're fighting against it every day. The second person has shifted their identity. They no longer see themselves as a smoker, and because of that, their choices naturally follow that identity. This is the power of identity-based discipline. It's about reprogramming the way you see yourself. Becoming the type of person who stays disciplined. Discipline rooted in identity is powerful because it feels natural. When you identify yourself as a runner, running doesn't feel like a chore. It feels like living in alignment with who you are. When you see yourself as someone who values health, choosing water over soda is not a painful sacrifice. It's simply what someone like you does. Think of world leaders, innovators, or activists who transformed their lives. Many of them didn't just build habits, they built identities. For example, one leader was known for waking up before sunrise every day to study, to write, and to strategize long before his peers even started their mornings. His discipline wasn't forced. It came from the identity he had adopted as a lifelong student and servant of his people. When you truly see yourself as the kind of person who follows through, procrastination feels out of place. Your identity pulls your behavior forward. The role of self-image in discipline. Your self-image is like the thermostat of your life. If a thermostat is set at 22 degrees, even if the temperature drops or rises, the thermostat will regulate it back to that setting. In the same way, if your self-image says, "I'm lazy," or "I never finish what I start," no matter how much motivation you gather, you'll eventually snap back to that identity. But if you rewrite your self-image to say, "I am disciplined, I am consistent, I am someone who keeps promises to myself," your actions will naturally begin to rise to that level. This is why the book Atomic Habits by James Clear emphasizes identity-based habits. Clear explains, "The most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become." Atomic Habits, 2018. You don't need to fight your habits directly. You need to reshape your identity. Let's look at some identity shifts that changed history. A young activist who became a global leader. He didn't start out with power, wealth, or influence, but he saw himself as someone responsible for the freedom of his people. That identity pushed him to endure prison, hardship, and countless setbacks, yet his discipline never broke. Why? Because it wasn't about what he did, it was about who he was. A visionary inventor. When he failed thousands of times to create a working product, he didn't label himself as a failure. His identity was a problem solver, an innovator. That self-image gave him the discipline to try again when most people would have quit. Today, we use his inventions daily. A world leader known for physical fitness and energy. He was not just exercising because it was a trend. He saw himself as a soldier, a warrior, a protector. That identity demanded discipline in diet, training, and work. It wasn't about forcing habits. It was about living true to who he believed himself to be. These stories show one thing. Discipline flows from identity. The strongest habits grow out of the soil of self-image. How to shift your identity. Now let's bring this home to you. Ask yourself, who do I want to become? Not what do I want to achieve, but who do I want to be known as? Do you want to be known as someone who always follows through? As someone who is healthy, reliable, disciplined, and focused? Once you define that identity, you reinforce it through small actions. Each action becomes a vote for the kind of person you are becoming. Every time you wake up early, you cast a vote for being a disciplined person. Every time you resist a distraction, you cast a vote for being focused. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you cast a vote for being trustworthy to yourself. Over time, those votes accumulate and your identity shifts. Key takeaways. Discipline is not just about actions, it's about identity. When you see yourself as disciplined, your behavior aligns with that self-image. Self-image is powerful. Like a thermostat, it sets the standard for your actions. If you believe you are lazy, you'll act lazy. If you believe you are disciplined, you'll act disciplined. Small actions reinforce identity. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Focus on who you want to be, not just what you want to achieve. Identity lasts longer than motivation. So, if you've been struggling to stay disciplined, stop asking, "How can I force myself to do this?" Instead, ask, "Who do I want to become?" Because when you truly shift your identity, discipline stops being a fight. It becomes second nature. You are not forcing yourself anymore. You are simply living out who you are. Thank you for listening to this chapter. If you found this valuable, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so more people can learn how to build lasting discipline in their lives. And remember, your actions follow your identity. Decide who you are and live it every single day. Chapter 5, Breaking the Comfort Trap. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning and your body whispers, "Stay in bed just a little longer." Later in the day, when it's time to work out, your mind suggests, "Skip it, you've done enough." When it's time to tackle that difficult project, another thought arrives, "Do it tomorrow." Sound familiar? That's the comfort trap. The comfort trap is the invisible cage that keeps us locked in routines of ease, safety, and predictability. It feels good. It feels safe. But here's the harsh truth. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. You will never find discipline, resilience, or greatness by staying where it is easy. Why humans naturally seek comfort? Our brains are wired for survival, not success. Thousands of years ago, when our ancestors lived in caves and survival was a daily struggle, conserving energy was essential. Resting whenever possible, avoiding unnecessary risks, and sticking to what felt safe increased the chances of staying alive. Fast forward to today, we no longer run from wild animals, but our brain still operates with the same instinct. Stay comfortable. Save energy. Avoid pain. That's why we often choose the couch over the gym, junk food over healthy meals, and scrolling on our phones over learning a new skill. The problem? What once kept us alive now keeps us average. As the author Robin Sharma once wrote in his book The 5 a.m. Club, all change is hard at first, messy in the middle, and gorgeous at the end. Discomfort is the price of growth. Learning to embrace discomfort as growth. Think of any world leader, entrepreneur, or inventor you admire. Their story is not built on ease, but on hardship, sacrifice, and discomfort. Take Abraham Lincoln, for example. Before becoming one of the most respected leaders in history, he failed in business, lost multiple elections, and faced deep personal losses. Yet he embraced those painful moments as fuel. Had he stayed in comfort, he would never have grown into the man capable of leading through crisis. Or consider Malala Yousafzai, who faced unimaginable danger in pursuit of education and justice. Instead of retreating into comfort and safety, she leaned into discomfort and risk, transforming her pain into a global movement. These stories remind us, discipline is not about choosing what is easy, but about consistently choosing what is hard, because it builds strength. Discomfort is a classroom. Every time you choose discomfort over ease, you're teaching yourself resilience. Think of it like lifting weights. The resistance is painful, but that's what builds the muscle. Micro-challenges, small steps beyond the comfort zone. Now, you might say, but I can't suddenly leap into extreme discomfort. And you're right. Growth doesn't require giant leaps. It requires small, deliberate steps, what I call micro-challenges. A micro-challenge is a small action that pushes you slightly beyond your comfort zone every day. Here are some examples. Instead of sleeping until the last minute, wake up 15 minutes earlier. Instead of scrolling on your phone during breaks, read 5 pages of a book. Instead of avoiding that tough conversation, speak up with kindness. Instead of driving everywhere, walk short distances when you can. These little steps might feel insignificant, but they build mental toughness. Over time, you train your brain to see discomfort not as a threat, but as a normal part of growth. Think about athletes. They don't start by lifting 200 pounds on the first day. They start with lighter weights, gradually increasing. Micro-challenges are your light weights. They prepare you for heavier challenges ahead. Let's take a look at this comfort trap. Let's take something common worldwide, learning a new language. Most people dream of it, but the process is uncomfortable. Memorizing strange words, making mistakes, feeling silly when speaking. Because of that discomfort, many quit. But the ones who push through, who practice daily even when embarrassed, who challenge themselves to speak even when afraid of mistakes, they come out disciplined, confident, and skilled. The lesson? Growth always hides behind discomfort. Here's an exercise you can try starting today. Identify your comfort zones. Write down 3 areas of your life where you've been too comfortable. Maybe it's your health, your finances, your relationships, or your career. Pick one micro-challenge. Choose one small thing that pushes you slightly beyond that comfort zone. For instance, if your comfort zone is procrastination, set a timer for 10 minutes and just start the task. Repeat daily. The goal is consistency, not intensity. Over time, those small steps will rewire your brain. Remember, your brain will resist. It will whisper excuses. It will try to convince you that you deserve rest, that you'll do it tomorrow. That's the comfort trap speaking. Discipline means saying, no, I choose growth today. Key takeaways for you. Humans naturally seek comfort because our brains are wired for survival, not success. Discomfort is growth. Every challenge is an opportunity to build strength. Micro-challenges work. Small daily steps outside your comfort zone prepare you for bigger victories. Discipline is built in discomfort. The more you train yourself to lean into what's hard, the stronger your self-control becomes. Breaking the comfort trap is not about punishing yourself. It's about unlocking the best version of you. Think of the leaders, thinkers, and creators you admire. None of them got there by choosing comfort. They chose growth, they chose discipline, they chose discomfort. So the next time your body says, stay in bed, or your mind says, do it tomorrow, ask yourself, do I want comfort or do I want growth? Remember, greatness begins where comfort ends. Thank you for listening to this chapter. If you find value in this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so more people can break free from the comfort trap and build unshakable discipline. Your support helps us create more life-changing content for you. Chapter 6: Building Unshakable Daily Routines. Imagine waking up every day and not wondering, what should I do first? Instead, your body and mind already know the rhythm. You don't debate, you don't procrastinate, you simply follow the flow. That is the quiet power of routines. Routines are not cages, they are frameworks of freedom. They give discipline a home to live in. Now, let's start with a simple truth. Discipline thrives on structure. When your days are built around intentional habits, you stop wasting mental energy on endless decisions. Research in psychology calls this decision fatigue. The more decisions you make throughout the day, the weaker your willpower becomes. That's why some of the most disciplined leaders in the world keep their routines simple, predictable, and repeatable. They conserve energy for the battles that truly matter. Take, for example, one of history's most influential leaders, Mahatma Gandhi. His life was rooted in structure. Early morning prayers, hours of spinning yarn, disciplined meals, and focused work with people. Gandhi understood that routine wasn't about rigidity. It was about anchoring his life around meaningful actions. This consistency gave him clarity and inner strength, especially during difficult struggles. Or consider a modern leader like Barack Obama, who was known for having a structured morning fitness routine followed by family breakfast before diving into his work. He once mentioned that he wore mostly the same style of suits every day, not out of fashion, but because it eliminated small decisions, leaving his mind free for weightier matters. This is a perfect example of how simplifying daily routines builds mental discipline. Let's explore the science of routines for a moment. Neuroscience shows us that the brain loves patterns. Every time you repeat a behavior at the same time, in the same context, your brain wires it more deeply, until it becomes automatic. This is why brushing your teeth at night doesn't require motivation. It's simply who you are. Now imagine building routines where exercise, reading, journaling, or focused work become as automatic as brushing your teeth. That's when discipline stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like identity. But here's the question. How do you build unshakable routines? It begins with your morning rituals. The way you start your day sets the rhythm for everything else. If you reach for your phone first thing, your mind becomes reactive. But if you begin with a calm and intentional practice, like meditation, a short workout, or simply writing down 3 priorities, you become proactive. One of the most successful inventors in history, Thomas Edison, was known for his consistent morning practices. He often woke early, reviewed his notes, and immediately began experiments. By starting with focus, he multiplied his creative energy. Now let's shift to evening rituals. Many people overlook this, but how you end your day is just as important as how you start it. Your evenings are the foundation of tomorrow's discipline. Leaders who achieved remarkable things often had nightly rituals that grounded them. Reading, reflection, journaling, or spending time in prayer or meditation. For example, Winston Churchill, despite the chaos of wartime, had strict routines. He read late into the night and reflected on the day's events before sleeping. That rhythm gave him clarity for the challenges ahead. Here's a tip. Your evening should include at least 2 things: review and reset. Review means asking yourself, What went well today? What can I improve? Reset means preparing your environment for tomorrow. Lay out your clothes. Write down your to-do list. Charge your devices away from your bed. This simple preparation eliminates friction and makes discipline easier when the new day begins. But let's be real. Life is not always predictable. Sometimes your routine will be interrupted by emergencies, travel, or unexpected demands. This is where micro-challenges come in. A micro-challenge is a small, intentional action you do daily that keeps your discipline muscles strong, no matter how busy life gets. It could be something as small as taking a cold shower for 30 seconds, doing 10 push-ups before bed, or reading just one page of a book. The point isn't the size, it's the consistency. Think of elite athletes. Their routines are designed to condition their bodies and minds daily, no matter what. Even when injured, they find micro ways to stay disciplined, whether through stretching, visualization, or journaling their progress. This is the essence of unshakable discipline. Not perfection, but persistence. One of the most insightful lines on this subject comes from James Clear in his book Atomic Habits. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Your daily routines are your systems. They are the invisible architecture holding your discipline in place. So let me coach you directly here. If you want to build unshakable routines, here are 4 steps you can start today. Anchor a habit to something you already do. For example, if you want to start journaling, do it right after brushing your teeth at night. Simplify the process. Make it easy to begin. If you want to work out, put your shoes and clothes where you'll see them first thing in the morning. Start small. Don't try to build a 2-hour routine at once. Begin with 5 minutes and expand gradually. Be consistent, not perfect. Missing one day doesn't ruin a routine. Missing 3 does. Guard against streak breaks. Remember, routines are not glamorous. They're not Instagram-worthy most of the time. But they are powerful. They are the silent engine behind every great achievement. Leaders, athletes, artists, scientists, all relied on daily structures that gave their discipline stability. Now let's bring this home. Imagine your life 1 year from now if your mornings and evenings were filled with intentional routines instead of chaos. Imagine the mental clarity, the physical health, and the emotional strength you'd build. That is what unshakable routines can do. Key takeaways for you. Discipline thrives in structured routines, not in random effort. Morning rituals shape your day. Evening rituals shape your tomorrow. Micro-challenges keep your discipline strong, even in unpredictable times. Simplify, anchor, and be consistent. Systems beat motivation. If this chapter inspired you to take control of your mornings and evenings, then let today be the start of your unshakable routine. Remember, small actions done consistently lead to extraordinary change. If you found value in this audiobook, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to this channel so more people can build discipline and transform their lives alongside you. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss the next powerful chapter. Chapter 7. The 2-minute rule to beat procrastination. Have you ever stared at a task for hours, knowing you should start, but somehow the energy just isn't there? You tell yourself, I'll start in 5 minutes. Then those 5 minutes stretch into an hour, and before you know it, the day has passed. Procrastination is not laziness. It's resistance, the brain's natural way of avoiding discomfort. But there's a simple, almost magical trick that can cut through this resistance like a hot knife through butter. It's called the 2-minute rule. The idea is very simple. If a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. But even more powerful than that, if a task feels overwhelming, just commit to doing the first 2 minutes of it. That's it. Because once you start, momentum carries you forward. Think of it like pushing a heavy boulder down a hill. The hardest part is getting it to move. But once it rolls, it gathers speed on its own. The 2-minute rule gives you that first push. How small starts create big momentum. Let's use an example. Imagine you want to start exercising daily. Telling yourself, I need to work out for an hour feels heavy. Your brain resists. But if you tell yourself, I'll just put on my sneakers and do 2 minutes of stretching. Suddenly the pressure disappears. What usually happens? After stretching, you think, well, since I'm already here, I might as well keep going. Before you know it, those 2 minutes turn into 20. This works in almost any area of life. Want to read more books? Just commit to reading the first page. Want to build a writing habit? Just write 1 sentence. Want to organize your room? Start by picking up just 1 item. That small action breaks the mental barrier and sets the tone for more. A well-known author, James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, talks about this. He says, "A habit must be established before it can be improved. The 2-minute start makes habits stick because it removes the friction of beginning. The trick of lowering resistance to action." Why is this so effective? Because the biggest enemy of discipline is resistance. Resistance is that invisible weight in your chest that whispers, "Not now. Later." The 2-minute rule lowers that resistance by making the task so small it feels silly not to do it. Here's the trick. Instead of thinking about the entire mountain, focus only on the first step. Psychologists call this microtasking. The brain doesn't like huge, undefined tasks like study for exams. But it doesn't resist something simple like open my book. Once the book is open, your brain says, well, since we're here, let's read a little. A powerful example comes from Mahatma Gandhi. He didn't start with the enormous goal of freeing millions from oppression. That would have been paralyzing. Instead, he began with small acts of resistance. Simple symbolic actions like making his own salt or spinning his own cloth. These acts seemed tiny at first, but they gathered momentum, inspired others, and eventually fueled a movement that changed history. Small actions, consistently taken, created unstoppable force, turning tiny wins into long-term habits. Here's the beauty of the 2-minute rule. It's not just about starting. It's about building consistency. Discipline is not forged in a single giant effort, but in tiny wins stacked daily. Think of any world leader, entrepreneur, or athlete who has achieved greatness. They didn't get there by one massive leap. They got there by compounding small, disciplined actions over time. Consider the story of Abraham Lincoln. As a young man, his formal education was very limited. But instead of being discouraged, he disciplined himself to study just a little every day. Sometimes, he only had time to read a page by candlelight. But those pages added up. Over years, those tiny wins built him into one of the greatest orators and thinkers in history. The 2-minute rule works the same way. Today's 2 minutes become tomorrow's 30 minutes, and eventually, a lifetime of discipline. Here's something you need to remember. Consistency beats intensity. You don't need to do it all at once. You just need to start, and keep starting. Over time, the small actions you repeat define who you become. How to use the 2-minute rule today. Now let's make this practical. I want you to think of one area in your life where procrastination holds you back. It might be health, career, studies, or relationships. Got it? Good. Now break that task into a 2-minute action. If it's fitness, put on your workout clothes. If it's writing, write 1 sentence. If it's learning a new skill, open the learning app and do 1 exercise. If it's cleaning, pick up 1 item and put it in place. Do that today. Then tomorrow. Then the next day. Soon, you'll realize that what started as just 2 minutes has grown into a lifestyle of action. Remember, discipline is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. Key takeaways for you. Starting is the hardest part. The 2-minute rule tricks your brain into action by lowering resistance. Momentum creates motivation. Once you begin, continuing feels natural. Tiny wins add up. 2 minutes daily is better than 0 minutes forever. Discipline is built, not gifted. Every small action is a brick in the house of your future. Let me leave you with this thought. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create momentum now. As the saying goes, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So the next time procrastination whispers in your ear, remember the 2-minute rule. Don't argue. Don't overthink. Just start small, because small is powerful. And if this message resonated with you today, do me a favor. Like this video, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next chapter of this audiobook. Together, we're building a disciplined, unstoppable version of you. Chapter 8: Delayed Gratification, the Secret Weapon. Imagine this for a moment. You walk into a room, and someone places a marshmallow on the table in front of you. They say, "You can eat this marshmallow right now. But if you wait for 15 minutes without eating it, I'll give you 2 marshmallows instead." What would you do? This is not just a playful question. It's based on a famous psychological experiment known as the marshmallow test, conducted in the late 1960s by psychologist Walter Mischel. Children were given a choice: one small reward immediately, or a larger reward if they waited. The fascinating part? Years later, researchers followed up with these children as adults, and they discovered something powerful. The children who were able to wait, who practiced delayed gratification, grew up to have higher academic achievement, healthier relationships, stronger careers, and better emotional control. That simple experiment revealed a truth that applies to all of us. The ability to delay gratification is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success. Now let's dive deep into why delayed gratification is such a powerful secret weapon for discipline, and how you can train your brain to master it. Why delayed gratification matters. At its core, discipline is about resisting the urge of instant rewards in order to gain something bigger, better, and more meaningful in the future. But our brains are naturally wired to seek immediate pleasure. We want quick results. We want to enjoy the sweetness of now, rather than wait for the harvest of tomorrow. But think about this: every world leader, every innovator, every athlete, every entrepreneur who achieved greatness did so because they chose the harder, longer path over instant gratification. Take Mahatma Gandhi, for example. He could have chosen the easy path of comfort, but instead he endured decades of sacrifice, fasting, and patient resistance for the greater reward of freedom for millions. His life reminds us that discipline is not about denying yourself joy. It's about choosing a greater joy in the future. Or look at Abraham Lincoln, who spent years studying by candlelight, failing at businesses, losing elections, and enduring setbacks. He delayed the gratification of comfort and ease, dedicating his life to a higher mission. His ability to wait for the bigger reward, justice, unity, and leadership, made him one of history's most respected leaders. This is the essence of delayed gratification: the willingness to endure temporary discomfort for a lasting reward. Training your brain to wait for bigger rewards. The good news is this: delayed gratification is not just something you're born with. It's a skill you can build, train, and strengthen like a muscle. Here are 3 practical ways to train your brain. Practice the pause. The next time you feel an impulse, whether it's to check your phone, eat junk food, or quit early, pause for a few seconds. That small delay begins to rewire your brain to understand that waiting is possible. Over time, those pauses become longer, and your self-control becomes stronger. Use the if-then strategy. Tell yourself, if I want this now, then I'll wait and get something better later. For example, if I save money now, then I can invest it and enjoy freedom later. Or, if I work out consistently, then I'll enjoy health and confidence later. Visualize the bigger reward. Your brain needs to see the benefit of waiting. Create vivid mental pictures of the future reward. Athletes often visualize themselves holding the trophy before they even step on the field. Students imagine their graduation day while studying through the night. This trick motivates your brain to embrace patience. As James Clear wrote in his best-selling book Atomic Habits, every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. When you choose to wait, you're not just saying no to temptation. You're saying yes to the future version of yourself who is stronger, wealthier, and happier. How to apply of delayed gratification in real life. Let's look at some everyday examples. Health and fitness. Choosing a healthy meal instead of junk food. The instant reward is tasty pleasure, but the delayed reward is energy, strength, and long-term health. Finances. Saving money or investing instead of spending impulsively. The instant reward is a new gadget, but the delayed reward is financial freedom. Career: studying, learning skills, or building a business. The instant reward might be watching TV or relaxing, but the delayed reward is a career that supports you for life. Relationships: practicing patience, communication, and selflessness. The instant reward may be winning an argument, but the delayed reward is long-lasting harmony and love. Every time you practice delayed gratification, you're planting seeds. And those seeds will grow into trees of success, while others are still chasing after quick snacks that never last. Think about your own life for a second. Where do you often give in to instant gratification? Maybe it's scrolling endlessly on social media, spending money impulsively, or skipping the gym. Now imagine what your life would look like if you delayed those small pleasures for just a while longer. What if you gave up 30 minutes of distraction every day and used that time to learn a new skill? In 1 year, you'd be ahead of millions. What if you saved just a little more money instead of spending on things you don't really need? In 5 years, you'd have a financial cushion that gives you peace of mind. This is why delayed gratification is the secret weapon of discipline. It's not flashy. It doesn't give you quick results. But over time, it compounds into a life that most people only dream about. Key takeaways for you. The marshmallow test taught us that waiting for a bigger reward predicts future success. Discipline thrives on delayed gratification, choosing long-term gain over short-term pleasure. Training your brain with pauses, if-then strategies, and visualization helps you strengthen self-control. Real-life success is built by applying this principle in health, money, career, and relationships. Your future self is watching you. Every time you delay gratification, you are building a stronger, wiser, freer version of yourself. Before you go, I want you to reflect on this. What marshmallow are you holding right now in your life? Are you eating it too quickly, or are you waiting for the bigger reward? If this Chapter 9, the role of environment in discipline. When most people think about discipline, they immediately picture willpower. They imagine waking up every day and forcing themselves to do what they need to do, even when they don't feel like it. But here's the truth. Your environment shapes your discipline more than sheer willpower ever will. Think about it. Have you ever tried to eat healthier, only to stock your kitchen with snacks, sweets, and sodas? What usually happens? Even if you promise yourself you won't touch them, by the end of the day, your hand mysteriously finds its way into that cookie jar. That's not a lack of character. It's simply your environment winning against your willpower. One of the most powerful ways to enforce discipline is to design your surroundings to make good habits easy and bad habits hard. It's like arranging your life so that discipline is not something you fight for every day, but something that happens automatically. Let's break this down step by step. How to design your surroundings for success. Imagine walking into 2 different workspaces. In the first, the desk is cluttered with old papers, half-empty coffee cups, and your phone buzzing with notifications every 2 minutes. In the second, the desk is clear, your tools are neatly arranged, and the phone is in another room. Which environment do you think will help you stay focused and productive? Exactly. The second one. Our surroundings influence our behavior far more than we realize. A world leader who understood this very well was Winston Churchill. During World War II, when he needed to make clear and disciplined decisions under immense pressure, he designed his environment intentionally. His war room was stripped of distractions, every document organized, every map visible, and his team placed in close quarters for efficiency. His environment wasn't accidental. It was engineered to enforce clarity and discipline because he knew his decisions carried weight for millions. This applies to your life too. If you want to study more, create a space where studying feels natural. Clear away distractions, prepare your books and notes the night before, and make the act of sitting down to study frictionless. If you want to exercise more, lay out your workout clothes where you can see them as soon as you wake up. Discipline becomes much easier when your environment nudges you toward the behavior you want, eliminating friction that leads to bad habits. Now let's flip it. Just as you can make good habits easier, you can make bad habits harder. This is called eliminating friction. Let's say you want to cut down on screen time. If your phone is always in your pocket, buzzing with notifications, it's nearly impossible to resist. But if you put it in another room while you work, or even lock certain apps during your focus hours, suddenly the bad habit becomes less accessible. You didn't need extreme willpower, you simply changed the setup. Another example comes from Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States. As a young man, he struggled with health issues and a tendency toward idleness. Instead of giving in, he transformed his environment to force discipline. He filled his home with books, hunting gear, and training equipment. Every room invited him into action rather than laziness. Over time, this shaped him into the disciplined leader he became, known not only for his intellectual capacity, but also for his physical vigor. You can do the same. If junk food tempts you, don't bring it into your home. If it's not within reach, it can't control you. If you want to save more money, delete shopping apps from your phone and set up automatic transfers into your savings account. Eliminate the friction that leads to bad habits, and discipline becomes almost effortless. Building an environment that enforces discipline automatically. Now here's the exciting part. You can build an environment so well-structured that discipline doesn't feel like discipline at all. It feels like your natural flow. James Clear, in his best-selling book Atomic Habits, wrote, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. And systems are nothing more than environments repeated over time." Consider the life of Mahatma Gandhi. His disciplined lifestyle wasn't maintained by sheer willpower. He created an environment that enforced his values automatically. Simple clothing, a modest living space, a strict daily routine. All these elements reinforced his commitment to self-control and discipline. His surroundings became a constant reminder of his mission. Your environment can do the same for you. Want to read more? Surround yourself with books and put one on your pillow, so the last thing you see at night is a book. Want to eat healthier? Keep a basket of fruits visible on your kitchen counter instead of bags of chips. Want to be more focused? Design your phone and computer so the apps you need for work are on the home screen, and the distractions are buried or deleted. When your environment is designed well, you don't need to constantly fight yourself. Discipline becomes automatic. Key takeaways for you. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. Don't fight daily battles. Design spaces that support your goals. Make good habits easy. Place reminders, tools, or items in plain sight that pull you toward discipline. Make bad habits hard. Create friction. Put temptations out of reach, out of sight, or entirely out of your home. Build systems, not just goals. Systems are environments that keep repeating the same behaviors until they become second nature. Remember, discipline doesn't always come from brute force. Often, it comes from being wise enough to design a life that makes discipline natural. So, as you think about your own journey to self-discipline, ask yourself, what small changes can I make to my surroundings today that will push me toward the life I want tomorrow? Maybe it's cleaning your desk. Maybe it's removing an app. Maybe it's laying out your shoes for tomorrow's workout. These tiny adjustments compound into massive discipline over time. If you found this chapter valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. By doing so, you'll not only support the growth of this audiobook series, but also commit yourself to a community that is striving for discipline and growth every single day. Remember, discipline isn't just about who you are, it's about where you place yourself. Design your world, and discipline will follow. Chapter 10, The Accountability Effect. Imagine this. You promise yourself you'll wake up at 5 a.m. every morning to exercise. The first day, you're excited. The second day, you're still motivated. By the third day, that bed feels too comfortable. You tell yourself, I'll just start again tomorrow. But then tomorrow never comes. Now picture this same scenario, but with one small twist. You have a friend waiting for you at the park at 5 a.m. If you don't show up, they'll be standing there alone, disappointed. Suddenly, skipping isn't so easy. You get out of bed, not because you feel motivated, but because someone else is counting on you. That right there is the accountability effect, the invisible force that makes us more disciplined when someone else is watching. Why we're more disciplined when watched? Humans are social creatures. From the beginning of time, we've lived in tribes, families, and communities. Being accepted by the group meant survival. Being excluded meant danger. That deep wiring still lives inside us today. When we know someone is watching, we step up. Athletes train harder when their coach is observing. Students study more seriously when they know a test is coming. Even great leaders in history have admitted that they stayed on course because they knew people were looking up to them. Think about Mahatma Gandhi, for example. He once said, "You must be the change you wish to see in the world." Gandhi understood that his people were watching his every move. If he wanted them to fight for freedom with discipline and nonviolence, he had to embody it himself. The eyes of millions became his accountability system. The truth is, we behave better when we feel responsible to others. Left alone, our discipline often fades. But when others expect something from us, our standards rise. Finding mentors, partners, or groups. So how can you use this accountability effect in your own life? One powerful way is to find a mentor, partner, or accountability group. A mentor is someone ahead of you in the journey. They guide you, challenge you, and expect you to keep moving forward. When you know you'll be reporting back to someone you respect, discipline comes naturally. For example, many successful business leaders openly credit their mentors for keeping them focused during difficult times. An accountability partner, on the other hand, is usually someone on the same level as you. You both set goals, check in on each other, and push one another to stay consistent. Imagine two writers who promise to send each other a new chapter every week. Neither wants to be the one who slacks off. Then there are groups, communities built around shared goals. Fitness groups, study circles, professional masterminds, even small online forums. Groups give you something extra. Not just one person watching, but many. It's harder to quit when a whole team is cheering you on. Let's take the example of Winston Churchill during World War II. His accountability wasn't to just one person, but to an entire nation waiting to hear his speeches. He knew that his words and actions could determine the courage of millions. That accountability forced him to rise above his personal doubts and fears. So whether it's one mentor, a trusted partner, or a group, the principle remains. Discipline grows when you're not walking alone. Using public commitment as a tool. Another way to harness accountability is through public commitment. When you announce your goals out loud, you create pressure to follow through. Think about someone who says, "I'm running a marathon in 3 months." The moment those words are spoken, discipline is no longer optional. Friends will ask, "How's your training going?" Coworkers will say, "We can't wait to see you finish." That social expectation pushes you forward. Public commitments can happen in different ways. Posting progress online, sharing updates with family, or even just telling your best friend. The key is that once people know, you don't want to let them down. Barack Obama, for instance, during his campaign made bold promises about change and progress. By making these commitments public, he forced himself and his team to remain disciplined in action, because the world was watching. His success wasn't just about ambition, it was also about accountability. Now, of course, there's a balance. You don't need to broadcast every detail of your life. But when used wisely, public commitment can become one of the strongest discipline tools you have. So let me ask you, who is keeping you accountable right now? Do you have a mentor checking on your progress? Do you have a friend who knows your goals and is willing to call you out when you slack off? Or are you walking alone, relying only on your own willpower? If you're serious about forcing yourself to become disciplined, you need accountability in your toolkit. Here's a simple action plan you can start today. Write down your most important goal for the next 90 days. Choose one person you respect and trust. Share your goal with them, and ask them to check in on you regularly. If possible, join or create a small group of people chasing similar goals. Make at least one public commitment, a promise that others can see. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but that discomfort is good. It means your brain is taking the accountability seriously. Key takeaways for you. Discipline increases when we know someone is watching. Mentors, partners, and groups can provide powerful accountability. Public commitment creates positive pressure that forces consistency. Great leaders throughout history used accountability to stay disciplined. You don't have to walk the journey alone. Let others help you rise. Discipline is hard when it's just you versus yourself. But the moment you bring in accountability, the game changes. Others hold up a mirror to your potential, and suddenly, quitting is no longer an option. So don't just rely on your own willpower. Use the accountability effect. Find someone who will stand beside you, encourage you, and expect more from you. And remember, if leaders who shaped the world needed accountability, so do we. If you found value in this audiobook chapter, make sure you like this video, share it with someone who needs discipline, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss more powerful insights like this. Together, let's build a disciplined life worth living. Chapter 11: The Power of Systems Over Goals. Let me ask you a simple but powerful question. Have you ever set a big goal, maybe losing weight, writing a book, saving money, or starting a business, only to find yourself stuck, frustrated, and abandoning it halfway? If you're nodding right now, don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, most people fail not because their goals are too big, but because they rely on goals alone. Here's the truth. Goals are important, but they are not enough. What really drives long-term success is the system you build to reach them. Let's dive into why goals often fail, why systems and processes are superior, and how you can build habits that run on autopilot. Why goals often fail. Think about the beginning of every new year. Millions of people make resolutions: get healthier, save money, be more productive. The gyms are packed in January, but by March they're empty. The journals and planners are filled in the first weeks, but by mid-year they're gathering dust. Why does this happen? Because a goal without a system is just a wish. Here's the problem with goals. They focus on the outcome, not the process. Someone might set a goal to write a book, but without a writing routine, that goal is meaningless. They delay happiness. We tell ourselves, I'll be happy when I achieve this goal. But what happens if we never achieve it? They create a finish line. Imagine someone who sets a goal to run a marathon. They train, they run the race, and they cross the finish line. Then what? Without a system for lifelong fitness, they often stop running altogether. That's why goals can be traps. They give us a burst of motivation, but they rarely sustain us long enough to create lasting change. The superiority of systems and processes. Now let's flip the script. Instead of focusing only on goals, what if we focused on systems? A system is a repeatable process that works day in and day out. For example, if your goal is to lose 20 pounds, your system could be eating balanced meals, exercising 3 times a week, and getting enough sleep. If your goal is to save money, your system might be automating a portion of your income into savings each month. If your goal is to be more productive, your system could be using time blocking and daily planning. Author James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, puts it perfectly. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That means no matter how big your dream is, your daily system is what determines whether you get there. Let's take an example from history. Mahatma Gandhi didn't set a single goal to free his nation in one step. Instead, he built a system of consistent, peaceful resistance, boycotts, marches, fasts, that over time created a movement so powerful it changed the world. His discipline wasn't in chasing one outcome, but in following a process every single day. Another example is Abraham Lincoln. He faced countless failures, business losses, election defeats, even personal tragedy. Yet his system was simple: keep learning, keep improving, keep showing up. By focusing on daily growth rather than only final goals, he built the resilience that eventually carried him into leadership. Building habits that run on autopilot. So, how can you build systems that enforce discipline in your own life? Let's break it down. 1. Start small. Don't try to change everything overnight. If you want to get fit, don't promise yourself 2 hours at the gym daily. Instead, start with 10 minutes of walking. This small habit becomes the seed of a bigger system. 2. Design your environment. Make it easy for your system to work. If you want to eat healthier, keep fruit on the counter and hide junk food in the back of the cabinet. If you want to read daily, put a book on your pillow so you see it before bed. 3. Attach new habits to old ones. This is called habit stacking. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will do 10 push-ups. After I pour my morning coffee, I will write 1 sentence in my journal. These little stacks build powerful systems. 4. Focus on consistency, not intensity. The power of systems lies in repetition. Writing 200 words daily may not seem much, but in 1 year, you'll have a 70,000-word book. Consistency beats occasional bursts of effort. 5. Track and adjust. Systems are not rigid, they evolve. Keep track of your progress and adjust as needed. If something isn't working, tweak the system instead of abandoning it. Think about world-class athletes. Many don't wake up every morning obsessed with winning the gold medal. Instead, they focus on daily training routines, the drills, the nutrition, the recovery. The medal is simply a byproduct of their system. Or consider world leaders who built movements, not just dreams. Martin Luther King Jr. didn't say, "I have a goal." He said, "I have a dream." And that dream was backed by a disciplined system of marches, speeches, community organizing, and relentless effort. Their success didn't come from wishing. It came from systems executed daily. So let me ask you directly, what's one area of your life where you've been chasing a goal, but not building a system? Is it your health? Your career? Your relationships? Whatever it is, I want you to write down today the goal you've been chasing. One small system you can start building around it. Remember, discipline isn't about being superhuman. It's about creating systems that make good habits automatic and bad habits difficult. Key takeaways for you. Goals fail because they focus on outcomes, delay happiness, and create finish lines. Systems are superior because they focus on daily processes and make success sustainable. Start small, design your environment, and focus on consistency. History's greatest leaders didn't just set goals, they built systems that outlived them. Discipline is not about willpower, it's about building structures that run on autopilot. Now you understand why systems matter more than goals. I want you to reflect. What system will you commit to today? Remember, discipline isn't built in one giant leap. It's built brick by brick, routine by routine, until it becomes who you are. If you found this chapter valuable, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe to this channel so you never miss the next chapter in this journey of building unstoppable discipline. Because the secret isn't just having goals, it's having systems that make those goals inevitable. Chapter 12, Resisting Temptations and Distractions. Imagine this. You sit down to focus on something important, maybe studying, working on a project, or chasing a personal goal. You promise yourself just 1 hour of deep work. But 10 minutes later, your phone buzzes, a video notification pops up, or you suddenly remember that snack in the kitchen. Before you know it, half an hour is gone. This is the battlefield of temptation and distraction. It doesn't matter who you are, student, entrepreneur, leader, or creator. Every single human being faces this war daily. The difference between those who achieve greatness and those who remain stuck often lies in how well they resist temptation and control distractions. The science of temptation. Temptation is not just a weakness of will. It's deeply rooted in our biology. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Psychologists call this the pleasure principle. When you're tempted to check your phone instead of working, it's your brain seeking a quick hit of dopamine, that feel-good chemical. The challenge is this. Discipline often requires us to delay gratification, choosing long-term rewards over instant pleasures. This is why resisting temptation feels like swimming upstream. There's a famous study called the marshmallow test by Walter Mischel. In this experiment, children were given a marshmallow and told they could eat it now, or wait a few minutes and get 2 marshmallows instead. The children who managed to wait, who resisted temptation, grew up to have better academic results, stronger relationships, and greater success in their careers. The lesson: resisting temptation is not about deprivation. It's about training your brain for greater rewards later. World leaders who mastered focus. Think about Mahatma Gandhi. He lived in a world full of distractions, political pressure, conflict, and constant attacks on his beliefs. Yet he practiced simplicity and self-restraint. His ability to resist anger and focus on peaceful resistance shaped history. He didn't allow temptation, whether it was revenge or violence, to derail his mission. Another example is Winston Churchill. In the middle of the Second World War, he faced enormous distractions: political debates, military setbacks, and constant threats. Yet he had the discipline to focus his energy on what mattered most, rallying his people with speeches that gave them courage. He once said, "You will never reach your destination if you stop and throw stones at every dog that barks." A reminder that resisting distraction is about choosing focus over noise. And let's not forget contemporary leaders who manage empires, nations, or massive organizations. What they all share is the ability to filter out noise, avoid temptations that waste time, and remain committed to their long-term vision. Techniques to outsmart distractions. Now let's get practical. How do you resist temptations and distractions in your everyday life? Here are strategies you can use right away. 1. Make temptations invisible. Out of sight, out of mind. If you want to eat healthier, don't keep junk food on the counter. If you want to reduce phone use, place it in another room while you work. Environment design is one of the most powerful tools for discipline. 2. The 5-minute rule. When you feel tempted to abandon your task, tell yourself, "I'll just do 5 more minutes." Often, once you start, momentum kicks in and the temptation fades. 3. Use the if-then technique. Plan your response in advance. For example, if I feel tempted to scroll social media while working, then I will stand up, stretch for 30 seconds, and return to my task. By pre-programming your behavior, you outsmart distractions before they appear. 4. Replace, don't just remove. It's not enough to remove temptations. Replace them. If you're trying to avoid wasting time on your phone, replace that habit with something rewarding, like listening to an audiobook, walking, or journaling. 5. Practice micro-delays. When temptation strikes, pause for 10 seconds. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, will this help me or harm me in the long run? Often, this small pause is enough to break the automatic pull of distraction. Building digital discipline in a noisy world. Let's face it, today, the biggest battlefield of distraction is digital. Our phones, laptops, and screens are designed to capture attention. Social media companies spend billions studying how to keep you scrolling. So, you're not weak if you struggle with digital temptation, you're human. But you can fight back. 1. Turn off non-essential notifications. Every ping is a temptation. Disable alerts for things that don't truly matter. 2. Use focus blocks. Set 25 to 50-minute blocks of uninterrupted work time, followed by short breaks. This is known as the Pomodoro technique. It trains your brain to focus deeply. 3. Single task, don't multitask. Multitasking feels productive, but it's actually distraction in disguise. Studies show switching tasks can lower productivity by up to 40%. Choose one task and finish it before moving on. 4. Set digital fasting times. Just like your body needs fasting from food, your brain needs fasting from screens. Create tech-free hours, like the first hour after waking up or the last hour before bed. 5. Curate your digital diet. Be intentional about what you consume online. Just as you choose healthy food for your body, choose healthy information for your mind. Key takeaways for you. Temptation is a battle between short-term pleasure and long-term rewards. Great leaders throughout history mastered focus by resisting distractions. To outsmart temptation, make it invisible, use pre-planned responses, and practice micro-delays. In the digital world, discipline means controlling your devices before they control you. Remember, every time you resist temptation, you strengthen your willpower muscle. Discipline is not about never facing temptation. It's about building the strength to say no when it matters most. The more you resist distractions, the more control you gain over your life. Imagine the version of you who lives free from constant interruptions, who focuses deeply, and who achieves long-term goals while others are busy chasing instant gratification. That version of you is possible, and it starts by practicing these strategies today. If this chapter helped you, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to this channel for more powerful audiobook sessions on discipline, self-mastery, and personal growth. Together, we're building a community of focused, unstoppable people. Chapter 13, Self-Discipline in the Face of Failure. Imagine this. You've been working hard on a project, pouring your heart and energy into it, only to watch it crumble right in front of you. The plan didn't work. The results weren't what you hoped for. You failed. Now, here's the truth most people don't like to hear. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of success. Every person you admire today, every leader who has changed the world, every innovator who has shaped history, they all faced failure. The difference between them and those who gave up is this. They had the discipline to rise again after falling. Setbacks are not just likely, they are inevitable. If you're aiming for something meaningful, failure will show up along the way. That's not a curse, it's part of the journey. The question is not, will I fail? The real question is, what will I do when I fail? Let me share with you a story. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the electric light bulb, is remembered for his brilliance. But before he created the light bulb that worked, he failed over 1,000 times. When asked how he kept going, he famously said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." His mindset turned failure into feedback. That's the key. You must see every failure not as an end, but as information. A failed attempt is simply a test that shows you what needs to change. Let's look at another example. Abraham Lincoln, one of the most respected leaders in history, failed in business, lost multiple elections, and even suffered a nervous breakdown before eventually becoming president. If he had stopped after his early failures, the world would never have known the power of his leadership. Lincoln once said, "My great concern is not whether you have failed, but whether you are content with your failure." This teaches us something important. Failure only defines you if you stay down. Discipline means you rise up and keep moving. But let's bring it closer to your life. Maybe you've tried sticking to a workout plan, only to quit after 2 weeks. Maybe you started saving money, but unexpected expenses forced you to dip into your savings. Or maybe you promised yourself you'd wake up early, but found yourself snoozing the alarm for the 5th day in a row. It's easy to feel defeated. Here's the mindset shift. Failing at discipline once doesn't mean you are undisciplined forever. It simply means you're human. The most disciplined people in the world fail too. The difference? They don't let one failure erase all their progress. Now, let's talk about how to bounce back without losing momentum. Step 1. Pause and reflect. Don't rush past your failure. Ask yourself, what went wrong? What can I learn from this? Reflection is powerful because it transforms failure into a teacher instead of a monster. Step 2. Adjust your strategy. If your plan didn't work, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means your approach needs tweaking. For example, if waking up at 5 a.m. feels impossible, try 6 a.m. first. Small adjustments create sustainable progress. Step 3. Get back in motion quickly. The longer you wait after failure, the heavier it becomes to restart. It's like falling off a bicycle. The faster you get back on, the less fear controls you. Step 4. Celebrate small comebacks. Each time you recover after failure, acknowledge it. That acknowledgement builds confidence and fuels momentum. Let me share another powerful story. Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister during World War II, is often remembered for his resilience in the face of overwhelming odds. He had failed in school, lost multiple political positions, and was even written off by many as finished. Yet, during one of the darkest times in history, his discipline and persistence helped inspire an entire nation. He famously said, "Success is not final, failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts." Notice the pattern. Great leaders, innovators, and achievers weren't immune to failure. They were defined by how they responded to it. Now let's go deeper. How do you turn failures into fuel for growth? First, reframe failure as feedback. Instead of saying, "I failed," say, "I discovered what doesn't work." This removes the shame and builds curiosity. Second, use failure to strengthen resilience. Each failure is like lifting a weight. It tears you down slightly, but when you recover, you come back stronger. Discipline is that muscle that grows when tested. Third, fail forward. Make every setback push you closer to success. If you lost money in a business, ask yourself what lesson it taught you about risk, customers, or planning. That lesson becomes an asset you can carry into your next attempt. There's a book I highly recommend called Mindset: The New Psychology of Success by Carol S. Dweck. In it, she explains the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. People with a fixed mindset see failure as proof they are not good enough. People with a growth mindset see failure as proof they are learning. Discipline is about choosing the growth mindset every single time. Let me coach you directly here. You are going to fail. Yes, you will break promises to yourself, fall short of goals, and lose battles. But don't let that scare you. Let it prepare you. Because the most powerful people in the world, the ones who create legacies, are those who keep showing up, even after failure. Here are your key takeaways from this chapter. Setbacks are inevitable. Everyone fails. It's not a sign of weakness, it's part of the journey. Failure doesn't define you. What defines you is how quickly you rise after falling. Bounce back with reflection, adjustment, and action. Don't stay down. Turn failures into fuel. Every mistake carries a lesson that can power your next step. Adopt a growth mindset. Discipline grows stronger when you see failure as feedback. Remember this: discipline is not about being perfect. It's about being consistent enough to get back up, again and again. Before we move on to the next chapter, here's your challenge. Think of one failure you've had recently. Write down what went wrong, what lesson you can extract, and one small action you can take today to get back on track. That's how you transform failure into growth. And Chapter 14, the link between discipline and freedom. When most people hear the word discipline, the first thought that comes to mind is restriction. They imagine rules, routines, sacrifices, and even punishment. But here's the truth I want you to hold on to today. Discipline is not restriction, it is liberation. Think about it for a moment. Who is truly free? Is it the person who gives in to every impulse, or the one who has built the strength to control their choices? The person who acts only on impulse is not free. They are a prisoner of their urges, constantly pulled in different directions. But the person who has learned to practice discipline is the one who gets to live with intention, clarity, and control. One of the most powerful quotes that explains this comes from Jocko Willink, a retired Navy SEAL and author of the book Discipline Equals Freedom, Field Manual. He says, "The temptation to take the easy road is always there. It is as easy as staying in bed in the morning and sleeping in. But discipline is paramount to ultimate success and victory for any leader and any team. Discipline equals freedom." At first, those words may sound contradictory. Discipline equals freedom? But as we go deeper in this session, you'll realize it is one of the most profound truths about success and personal growth. Discipline creates options. Imagine a musician who wants to play freely on stage. To perform effortlessly, they first spend years practicing scales, drills, and exercises. That daily discipline, repeated over and over, eventually gives them the freedom to express themselves without thinking. Now compare that to someone who never practiced but walks on stage with a guitar. They may strum a few random chords, but they don't have the freedom to truly express themselves musically. Their lack of discipline has become their prison. This same principle applies to every area of life. Discipline in your health gives you the freedom to live longer and enjoy your body. Discipline in your finances gives you the freedom to make choices without fear of debt. Discipline in your time management gives you the freedom to enjoy rest without guilt. Some real-world stories of freedom through discipline. Think about Mahatma Gandhi. His discipline wasn't just about personal habits. It was about self-restraint, simplicity, and consistency. He lived in a way that seemed restrictive to many: simple clothing, simple food, a strict daily routine. But through that discipline, he gained incredible freedom. The freedom to lead one of the largest nonviolent movements in history. His discipline gave him influence, focus, and the ability to withstand enormous pressure without breaking. Now consider an athlete like Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer. Behind every gold medal he won were thousands of early mornings, rigorous diets, and endless hours in the pool. To an outsider, that might look like restriction. But what did it create? Freedom. The freedom to break world records, to dominate his field, and to retire knowing he gave his absolute best. Even in leadership, we see this truth. Take Winston Churchill, who led with resilience during one of the darkest times in history. His discipline in preparation, reading, and speechwriting gave him the freedom to inspire an entire nation when it mattered most. Without discipline, his words may not have carried the same power. Do you see the pattern? The discipline always comes before the freedom. Why indiscipline feels like freedom but isn't? On the other side, let's talk about indiscipline. Many people confuse indulgence with freedom. They say, "I'm free to eat whatever I want." But if that choice leads to poor health, are they really free? Or are they imprisoned by disease, low energy, and regret? Some say, "I'm free to spend money however I like." But if those choices lead to debt, stress, and sleepless nights, that's not freedom, it's financial slavery. True freedom isn't doing whatever you feel like. True freedom is having control over your life. And control comes only through discipline. The long-term payoff. The most inspiring part of discipline is its long-term payoff. The sacrifices you make today multiply into greater options tomorrow. Let's say you're disciplined in studying a skill every single day. At first, it looks boring and restrictive compared to others who are relaxing, scrolling, or wasting time. But 5 years later, you have built expertise that opens doors for you. Opportunities that those who avoided discipline cannot even dream of. Or think about health. Someone who practices discipline in eating and exercising may say no to many temptations now, but 10 years later, while others are struggling with lifestyle diseases, they're running, traveling, and living with vitality. Their discipline created freedom. This is why successful people in any field, leaders, entrepreneurs, athletes, and thinkers, all testify that their discipline gave them the ability to achieve things that looked impossible to others. Now, let's make this personal. I want you to ask yourself, where in my life am I mistaking restriction for freedom? Is it in your daily routine, where you feel free by skipping structure, but deep down you're stuck in chaos and procrastination? Is it in your health, where you feel free to eat or drink whatever you like, but in truth your energy and confidence are being stolen? Or is it in your finances, where spending without discipline feels good in the moment, but leaves you trapped in long-term anxiety? Here's the challenge. Start choosing short-term discipline over short-term comfort. Remember, comfort is expensive when it steals your future freedom. Key takeaways for you. Discipline is not punishment. It is preparation for freedom. Lack of discipline feels like freedom now but turns into bondage later. Every form of mastery, from leadership to health, wealth, and creativity, comes from discipline first. The sacrifices you make today are the seeds of the freedom you will enjoy tomorrow. So the next time you feel like discipline is too hard, remind yourself, I am not giving up my freedom, I am buying my freedom. Every act of discipline is a down payment for a life you truly want. And that, my friend, is why discipline equals freedom. Thank you for listening to this chapter. If this message resonated with you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and subscribe to this channel so that more people can join us on this journey of growth. Your engagement helps us create more powerful content for you. Remember, discipline today, freedom tomorrow. Chapter 15, Making Discipline a Lifestyle. Let me ask you a question. When you think of someone who has lived a disciplined life, who comes to mind? Maybe an athlete who trained for years to reach the top. Maybe a world leader who stayed consistent through decades of challenges. Or maybe an ordinary person who quietly built a successful life by showing up every single day. Discipline is not just about forcing yourself to wake up early or to avoid distractions once in a while. True discipline is a lifestyle. It's about shaping who you are so that discipline is no longer something you fight for. It's something you live by. Today, I want to walk you through how discipline can be sustained for decades, how you can shift from forced effort to natural flow, and what it really means to live as a disciplined person every single day. 1. Sustaining discipline for decades. Think about any world leader who left behind a lasting legacy. One clear example is Mahatma Gandhi. His life was built around consistent discipline. From his diet, to his simple clothing, to his commitment to nonviolence. Gandhi wasn't disciplined for a year or two, he sustained it for a lifetime. His discipline wasn't about quick results. It was about aligning daily actions with deeply held values. And that's the first key. Discipline that lasts is anchored to values, not moods. If you only practice discipline when you feel like it, you'll burn out. But when discipline is tied to something bigger than you, like your family, your faith, your purpose, or your vision, it becomes renewable. One of the greatest writers of all time, Haruki Murakami, once explained his writing routine. He wakes up at 4 a.m., writes for 5 to 6 hours, then runs or swims in the afternoon. He has kept this routine for decades. Why? Because discipline became part of his identity. It was never about a deadline. It was about becoming the kind of person who shows up, no matter what. 2. Shifting from forced discipline to natural discipline. Let's be honest. At first, discipline feels forced. It feels like dragging yourself out of bed when you'd rather sleep. It feels like choosing a healthy meal when your body screams for junk food. It feels like reading a book when your phone is calling your name. But here's the truth. Anything forced can become natural, if repeated long enough. Psychologists call this habit internalization. In the beginning, you need willpower. But with repetition, your brain rewires itself. What was once hard becomes automatic. Think about athletes like Serena Williams. Do you think she still forces herself to practice every day? No. At some point, training became as natural to her as brushing her teeth. It's no longer a battle, it's a rhythm. A great way to make this shift is to stop asking, "Do I feel like doing this?" and start asking, "What would the disciplined version of me do?" That small mental shift takes the focus off your emotions and puts it back on your identity. And over time, your habits catch up with your new identity. 3. Living as a disciplined person every day. Here's the ultimate goal. Discipline should stop feeling like punishment and start feeling like freedom. Warren Buffett, one of the world's most respected investors, once said, "Chains of habit are too light to be felt until they are too heavy to be broken." In other words, the small daily choices you make will either free you or trap you. When you live as a disciplined person every day, you're not making dramatic choices. You're making small, consistent choices that stack up over time. Choosing to read instead of scrolling. Choosing to save instead of overspending. Choosing to speak with patience instead of reacting in anger. Living discipline doesn't mean you're perfect. It means your lifestyle tilts toward growth more often than not. Think of it like steering a ship. If you set the course just 1 degree off, at first it seems small. But over miles and miles, that 1 degree will take you far off track. Discipline is correcting your course daily, making sure you're always heading toward your true north. Consider leaders like Angela Merkel, former Chancellor of Germany. For 16 years, she led with consistency and stability, rarely swayed by emotional impulses or outside noise. She was known for her calm, disciplined approach to decision-making. That kind of steadiness didn't come from raw talent. It came from building a lifestyle of discipline that guided her through both crises and successes. This is what separates people who succeed for a season from people who succeed for a lifetime. Anyone can be disciplined for a month. But only those who turn discipline into a lifestyle can sustain excellence across decades. Let's make this personal to you. How do you begin to live discipline every day? Here are some simple but powerful steps. Anchor to purpose. Write down why you want to be disciplined. Not just the goal, but the deeper reason behind it. Build keystone habits. Start with a few habits that influence everything else. For example, waking up early, exercising, or reading daily. Stack your habits. Attach new habits to old ones. If you already brush your teeth, add affirmations right after. If you already drink coffee, use that moment to plan your day. Accept imperfection. You will fail sometimes. The difference is, a disciplined lifestyle doesn't collapse after one mistake. You bounce back quickly. Think long-term. Stop measuring your discipline by days or weeks. Think in terms of decades. Ask yourself, what kind of person am I becoming by doing this every day? Key takeaways for you. Discipline that lasts is rooted in values, not moods. What begins as forced effort can become natural with repetition. Living disciplined doesn't mean being perfect. It means making small, consistent choices that align with your vision. The most successful people aren't necessarily the most talented. They are simply the most disciplined, every single day. Now, if you found this chapter inspiring, do me a favor, like this video, share it with someone who needs a dose of discipline, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more life-changing audiobooks. Your support keeps this knowledge flowing and helps more people build the life they deserve. Discipline is not something you practice once. It's something you live forever. And that is how you turn discipline into a lifestyle. And here we are at the end of this audiobook. You've learned what discipline truly means, how to build it, how to sustain it, and ultimately how to live it as a lifestyle. Remember, discipline is not a prison. It's not a burden. It's the key to the life you want. At first, it feels like you're forcing yourself. But with time, discipline becomes who you are. And when that happens, you'll realize that the freedom you were chasing was hidden in the discipline you were avoiding. Also know this: success does not belong to the most talented or the luckiest. It belongs to those who show up with discipline day after day, long after the excitement has faded. Discipline is the bridge between who you are today and who you are capable of becoming. You don't have to wait for motivation. You don't have to wait for the perfect time. Start where you are, use what you have, and take one disciplined step every single day. That's how you transform your habits, your future, and your life. Now it's your turn. Go live these lessons. Be the kind of person who doesn't just dream, but follows through. Because the world doesn't reward intentions, it rewards consistency. If this audiobook spoke to you, do me a favor. Like this video, share it with someone who needs a push toward discipline, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Your support helps us reach more people, and together we can build a community of disciplined, unstoppable individuals. Stay consistent. Stay committed. Stay disciplined. Until next time, keep building the life you know you deserve.